Alright, welcome guys. In today's video I'm going to go over how to do activity 1.3.4 CAD modeling skills. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are working in inches. So make sure you go ahead and switch over to inches, and then we're going to go ahead and go over it through the steps. So I'm going to go ahead and start at step 4. Sketch a 4-inch vertical by 6-inch horizontal rectangle. And here it says important, use the center point rectangle. The center rectangle, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start with a new drawing. Create. New sketch. I'm going to select the front plane. And then I'm going to go down here to polygon and then rectangle with a center point, 2-point center. I'm going to start at the center point. And then here again has to be 6 inches in length. So I'm going to type in 6 and then tab and then 4 inches vertical. And then I'm going to press enter. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And there I have my rectangle there. So now right away, I'm going to press escape and I'm going to draw a construction line. I'm going to turn on the construction function. I'm going to select the line command and then I'm going to draw a line here from the center vertical to the bottom of the rectangle there. And then I'm going to press escape. And then of course, I'm going to turn off the construction line command. All right, so now we are in step 5. Add 3 polygons inside your sketch rectangle. And then it starts off with a circumscribed pentagon using a radius of 0.35 inches. Okay, so first I'm going to put down the polygon sketches. And then after I put down all 3, I'm going to go ahead and give them dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and here, click the arrow down to polygon. And then we're going to select the circumscribed pentagon. So that means this polygon has to have 5 sides. And then before I click done, I have to actually sketch the pentagon. So I'm going to place it down here. There we go. And then I'm going to press done. Then I'm going to, again, same thing, polygon. This one is a inscribed hexagon. So I'm going to choose 6 sides. And I'm going to go ahead and place it up here. There we go. Press escape. And then the last one is a triangle. So if you look at letter C, equilateral triangle. So this one's going to have 3 sides. There we go. I'm going to put it down here. Then I'm going to press done. So now we have put down our polygons. Now let's go ahead and give them the dimensions. So I'm going to scroll back up to A and select the dimension command with the radius of 0.35 inches. So I'm going to select here, from here to the side, it's going to be 0.35. And then I'm going to press enter. For the hexagon, it's going to be from the center to the line. And then it's going to be 0.25. There you go. And then the triangle has a side of 1.25 inches. So I'm just going to click the side. And this is going to be 1.25. There we go. Okay. It's a little too big, but hopefully we can fix that in the future, the upcoming steps. Okay, so now we are on to step 6. We're going to use some geometric and dimensional constraints to constrain the polygons. So we're going to start off with letter A. The center of the pentagon is on a vertical line through the center of the rectangle. So for that, we're going to have to use our coincident constraint. Constraints 2 points together to other geometries in 2D and 3D sketches. So we're going to constrain the center of the pentagon through the vertical line here that we have. There we go. I'm going to press escape. Now we're on to letter B. One side of the pentagon is horizontal and located 0.5 inches above the center point. So the bottom of this pentagon has to be horizontal. So we'll need the horizontal constraint. This has to be horizontal. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and use the dimension command. This, we're going to click the bottom of the pentagon and then the center point. It has to be, again, right now it's saying 0.259, but it has to be 0.5. Type in 0.5 and enter. And there we go. It went a little bit up. Okay. So now we're on to letter C. One side of the hexagon is parallel with the 16-inch side of the rectangle, with the top of the rectangle. So let's go ahead and use the parallel constraint. And let's pick the top of the hexagon and then the top of the rectangle. So now they're both parallel. The center of the hexagon is 0.5 inches below the top side. Well, letter D. The center of the hexagon is coincident with the diagonal of the rectangle. So coincident constraint. The center of the rectangle of the hexagon is coincident with this line. There we go. So now we can move on to letter E. The center of the hexagon is 0.5 inches below the top of the rectangle. So from here to here, again, has to be 0.5. So I'm going to type in 0.5 and press enter. And now it went a little bit up, right? So that's what we want. One vertex of the equilateral triangle is coincident with the corner of the rectangle. So one point of the triangle is touching the corner of the rectangle. So we'll go ahead and use the coincident constraint. We want both corners to be touching. There we go. So now we're on letter G. The center point of the equilateral triangle is coincident with the diagonal of the rectangle. So same thing, coincident constraint. We want this to be touching the line. There we go. So now we're done with step 6. Again, yours should look similar to the one on step 6. So far, so good. Now we're going to move on to step number 7, right? Where we have to create the patterns that you see in the picture. So for the pentagon is a circular pattern. For the hexagon is a rectangular pattern, and for the triangle is another rectangular pattern, right? So let's go ahead and start with the hexagon. With the pentagon, the one in the middle. Circular. Let's go ahead and select geometry, which is the pentagon. So let's go and select the lines. Now let's go ahead and select the axis. There we go. How many do we want? Well, there's 5 in the picture, so we'll type 5 here. And again, you can see the preview in a light gray, and that looks pretty good. So we're gonna press OK. So far, it looks good. So now let's move on to our hexagon, and we'll select the rectangular command. Let's select our geometry, which is the hexagon. I'm just selecting the lines, okay? So just select the lines. Which direction? Well, let's go ahead and click this top of the line here. And we want it not to go that way to the right, but to the left. So we'll click here, switch. There we go. How many hexagons do we want? Well, we want 3 hexagons in total across the horizontal axis, right? So now this part here is saying how far apart should they be. Again, 1 inch apart is a little bit too much. So let's type in 0.5 and see the preview. That looks like it's a little bit too, a lot less, right? Because they're crossing over. So let's go ahead and type in 0.7. Maybe that could be in the middle. Yep. So that looks good, right? And we're still not finished. So now we want to do a pattern, but downwards, right? So this is the second direction, which we're going to click. So again, I'm going to click the second direction. Okay. So let's go ahead and click. Where we go? There we go. All right. So again, you want to click direction, then you want to click the side of the rectangle, right? Again, if you mess up, you can always press cancel and start all over, right? But you want this is the first direction, and then the second direction is downwards, right? If you mess up, you can always click here and click another direction, right? I would just click the vertical side of the rectangle. So here, vertical side, and now we have our hexagons going downwards. Now, how far do we want them? Again, 1 inch is too far. Let's try 0.7 like the other one. There we go, 0.7 is good. So now before we click OK, notice that one of the hexagons is missing, right? So we're gonna go ahead and do that. All we're gonna do is use the option, the setting called suppress, and then we're gonna select that hexagon. So for that, we have to click here, the little arrows, and then click suppress, and then we want to click this hexagon. Now when we press OK, again, that one is suppressed. All right, so far it's looking good. So we're gonna move on to our triangle. So again, we're gonna use the rectangular command. We're gonna select our geometry. There we go, direction. All we're gonna do is click this diagonal line. Do we want them going to the right or left? We want the triangle to go to the left. So we click switch. There we go. How many triangles? I believe there are 7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 triangles in the picture for step 7. So I'm gonna type in here 7. Now 1 inch is too far apart. So let's type in 0.7. That is also too far. 0.5, that's too far. 0.25, that's crossing over into the pentagon. So what about 2? That's barely touching the pentagon. So what about 1.9? Actually, 0.19998. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Hopefully, again, you don't want these to touch or cross over, right? So that's barely not touching, which is good, right? Because again, if it crosses over, then once you extrude the whole thing, it's gonna come out not right, right? Because it's crossing over. So this is barely correct, right? Because it's not touching the line. So again, make sure yours is not touching any of the other sketches. So I'm gonna press OK. And now I have my 7 triangles. All right, so we'll go on to step 8, finish the sketch. Estimate the extrude distance and extrude the appropriate sketch shapes to obtain a model that resembles a flat plate shown in figure 7. So let's go ahead and extrude. Okay, so extrude. I'm gonna use the front view. I'm gonna go ahead and put 0.4. Again, from the side, if you wanna switch over to the side, you can see that's a little too thick, right? So I'm gonna type in 0.4. There we go. And I'm gonna keep going, because now I wanna extrude the triangles, right? So I wanna make the triangles look like the one in step 11 where it's 3 arrows pointing. So I'm gonna zoom in on this part. Now this part you have to be very careful, because again, if you misclick, you might have to start all over in selecting the triangles. So this arrow is fine. This is the one I want to extrude. There we go. And then the next one, and then the next one. Right, so now I have my 3 arrows. So all I have to do now is make sure I extrude the rest of them carefully. This part. There we go. Again, make sure you're clicking the right boxes, because again, if you click the whole thing, it's gonna put the whole thing in gray. There we go. Slow and steady. Got it, we're almost done. Again, if you have to zoom into this part, you can. There we go. Zoom back out. Take your time. Then we're going to press OK. So far, it looks like the one on step 9, right? So again, it's looking good so far. Place a new, so now we're on to step 10. Place a new sketch on one of the large flat surfaces of your part. So on this part here, I'm going to right click and say new sketch. Create the pentagonal extrusion shown in figure 8. Project any 3 pentagons onto the new sketch. Okay, so we're going to use the project geometry command. We're going to select these 3 pentagons. Once I'm done selecting them, they should be in yellow, right? And then after that, I'm going to click the offset, right? And then on step 11B, it says use the offset tool to create 3 new pentagons, each offset of 0.1 inches outside. And then after that, apply a 0.2 inch fillet to the corners of each outside pentagon. So let's start off with the offset is 0.1. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to type in 0.1. And then press enter. Now for the next one, same thing. I'm going to click and then I'm going to type in 0.1 and press enter. Same thing here. I'm going to type in 0.1 and then I'm going to press enter. There we go. So now we're going to switch over and use the fillet command. Fillet. Now here it's by default 1.25. All I'm going to do is delete this, and I'm going to put 0.2, and I'm going to press enter. So that means now I'm going to select these lines here for the fillet command. I'm going to click the command again, and then now it applies the 0.2 inch fillet. So I'm just going to keep going. There we go. Now for the next pentagon. There we go. Now for the last pentagon. All right, so now we're on to step 12, finish the sketch. And then step 13, extrude the areas between the larger and smaller pentagons to resemble the part shown in figure 8. Name and save your file. So again, it should look like figure 8, which is in step 11. So all we're going to do is click extrude, and then we're going to click these parts here. 1, 2, and 3. And notice they're a little bit longer on figure 8, so I'm going to change this to 1 inch. There we go, and I'm going to press OK. Okay, so name and save your file. So I'm going to click File, Save As. I'm going to type in 1.3.4. And I'm going to say step 1 through 13. Then I'm going to save it. So now that is saved, and then now I can add my name. There we go. There we go. So make sure when you add your name and take a screenshot, make sure you have this angle here so I can see the pentagons that were extruded. Okay. So again, now you can go ahead and again add your name, and then you can go ahead and take a full window screenshot and turn it in with your name on it. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.